Welcome, everybody. It's that time of the month for a new podcast episode of Talking XP, where we discuss some of our favorite things, including games, movies, and most importantly, D&D. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm the host, Johnny, and today we have Ryan. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Right on. Zack?
Good. Who cares? Did you know that woodpeckers have 15-inch tongues that start up in their foreheads and wrap around their skulls?
What?
Yeah. Isn't that the worst thing you've ever heard?
They start in the forehead.
So it starts at the forehead, goes around the skull.
Goes around and then out?
And then out. And then when they retract their tongue, it slurps back up.
To like their neck?
In the forehead. It like...
Oh, back into the... So it goes through like an entire hole just to come...
There's like a tube connecting from the forehead to the mouth. And when the tongue retracts, it goes up the back of the skull into the forehead.
What the hell?
It's the worst thing I've ever heard, and now all of you have to know that too. Doing good. Thanks for asking.
Great. Thank you. Daniel, hopefully you don't have something crazy like that. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I have macaroni and cheese in front of me.
What else do you need in the world?
Not much.
All right.
A lactase pill?
Oh, well, yeah. Some announcements that we got. We have a Discord server. If anybody's wanting to join in on that, we have a link at the bottom in the description.
You can come talk to us. It's fun. It's good.
Yeah. No, we've already gotten some D&D content creators joining in on that, and I think it'll start to become a good community. So go ahead and join in. We also have a Patreon. You can just go ahead and sponsor us if you like our content that we make. We already have 2 patrons, Steven and Kristen. Thank you so much for your patronage.
Thank you, Steven and Kristen.
We really appreciate that. Another thing that we got is One Shot of the Month. We just finished our second One Shot of the Month. The first one was Drow Hard. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but go ahead and check out our YouTube video. We have 2 YouTube videos. One where we do it the first time, and then we made a mistake and we went back and did it again. It was actually really cool. Go check it out on our page. But the recent one that we did was Jack Duncan created the Fairy Coffins.
Thank you, Jack Duncan.
Which is a best silver seller one-shot adventure. We're going to have the link in the description to our YouTube video of us playing it, and then also we'll have the link to the DMs Guild page for Jack Duncan, so go ahead and follow those and support him if you want to have a really fun night with your friends. And another announcement is that we're going to have our next one-shot of the month at the end of February. It's going to be on February 24th. It's going to be a D&D 5e conversion of Pokemon. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be playing a adventure written by Joe the DM. If you want to go ahead and follow him on Twitter, that's where we found him. And it's going to be led by our very own Ryan. He's going to be DMing it. So,
have we all picked our starters?
I think so.
I'm kind of on the fence.
Does anyone want to say who their starter is? Do we want to tease with that? I mean,
I definitely have Mudkip. That's definitely in there.
Okay, sure. I guess this is a little basic. I mean,
it's popular for a reason.
I'm gonna pick Abra over here.
Abra's pretty good.
Okay. Zach, are you playing? What are you doing?
I think I'm gonna go with Cyndaquil.
Sweet. I know Sabrina was telling me that she is going to be picking Pikachu as
right
or Eevee. I'm not sure now that Zach isn't picking Eevee.
Yeah, I thought about doing Eevee, but I think I just want to go with a straight fire type.
I'll definitely check in with her to see if she wants to do either Eevee or Pikachu, because I know those are her 2 that she likes.
Those are strong ones.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Go ahead and follow us on Twitch so that you'll be ready for that release. Again, it's going to be on February 24th. It's going to be 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So go ahead and tune in on that.
Go ahead and tune in.
And the last of our announcements is our 1-minute one-shots that we usually do in our podcast episodes. we're actually going to be releasing the King's Alarm, the one that I actually led a few months ago. It's going to be on its own standalone YouTube video that we're going to be releasing on February 23rd. So if you missed that 1 minute one shot, or you want to hear it again just on its standalone, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can know exactly when we release it and whenever we release new content as well. So, with the announcements aside, let's talk about some games and movies. The first up is kind of a big deal. Dungeons and Dragons, the movie. I know that's probably not the title, but they've got a pretty big cast already. I mean, Chris Pine, Justice Smith, and then Michelle Rodriguez. We got some big actors starting it off.
Wait, hang on. Is this a new movie?
Yeah, it's going to be coming out next year or something.
Oh, okay.
I think they dated
Sure.
it to 2022.
I'm exposed as a fake fan. I didn't even know this was real. I thought you were talking about the 90s movie.
No, yeah,
Oh,
but
God, why?
that was one of the things that I was going to say is that every single time that they tried to make a D&D movie, it just doesn't work. And so I'm just trying to figure out like what they're going to be doing different, really.
It's a pretty big ask. There's a lot to...
That cast
They're
doesn't
down.
make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, but they're big people though. And that's why I'm like, dang, okay.
They probably weren't doing anything. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
I'll play D&D. Whatever. It's a Saturday night for Chris Pine.
I'm trying to think of like what the plot is going to be like.
I mean,
Is it gonna be-
I bet it's gonna be kind of like the new version of Jumanji, if I had to guess.
Okay, so
bet
then
that's
real
what they're
life
gonna do.
and fantasy life kind of clashing in the same movie.
That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, you have a bunch of like, maybe nerds, or maybe not all of them are nerds, but they all, get their, avatars in the gamer sphere, or the whatever. Yeah.
I could totally see that. I mean, I really enjoyed Justice Smith and Detective Pikachu. He did a really great job with that. So
Oh yeah, he did.
I haven't seen him in anything else personally, but I'd totally be interested in seeing what other work he has to do. So
Yeah, I'm open to it.
I'm more excited for this than I think the other large budget, big name Hollywood movie based off of a game that's coming out, which is Borderlands.
Borderlands is getting a movie?
You're making a Borderlands movie?
Oh, they are, and you just wait until you hear the cast. It's like what? It's
of
oh
the
my
loop
god, I'm
am I?
blanking now.
Will Smith.
Dude, if Will Smith is in there.
Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis, I think I read.
What?
That actually makes sense. She's a big nerd.
So Jamie Lee Curtis is gonna play Dr. Tannis, which is like, okay, sure. Sure, like, okay, fine, I see it. Jack Black is gonna be Claptrap.
Yeah, I did see that yesterday.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Sounds good. Kevin Hart is gonna be Roland.
Okay. Oh, so this is very first game then.
Kate Blanchett, she's gonna be Lilith.
They got Kate Blanchett?
Like I said, again, huge names. Cast doesn't make a lick of sense to me.
If Dwayne The Rock Johnson's in it, we got like a Jumanji reunion.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, but at least though, there's a lot of those are all funny people, or at least they're known for comedy. So in that way, it's like, okay, Borderlands, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, Kate Blanchett's hilarious. Love her.
Okay, I didn't say all of them. I said most of them. She's just a very good actress.
She's very good.
IMDb only has those 4.
Well, some of those are new to today. This is
Gotcha,
breaking edge, cutting edge stuff here.
Fascinating. I wonder if it'll ever come out.
That is very interesting. I'd love to see how there's a lot of potential. I mean, they don't have to go. I hope they don't go like the regular gaming way. I hope they go with like a different kind of route and then make it explore like the world of Borderlands. I hope they don't make it like the exact same thing as the video game, because if they do that, it's just gonna ruin it.
I think they have equal problems to the Dungeons and Dragons game. Obviously, there's a little bit more structure to
a big scope,
Borderlands, but
but-
yeah, you could kind of do anything, which is hard when you have everything at your fingertips.
But, video game movies don't have a great track record, so we'll see if
Speaking of video game movies, Monster Hunter World.
Oh yeah, I never saw it.
Didn't that came out already,
came out.
right?
Did it come out? I didn't watch it.
Yeah, but in theaters. Like, how are you supposed to watch that?
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna.
I'm waiting. It's coming out on it's releasing on like stream at home in the next like month
Man,
or
I
two.
forgot about that.
When that happens, I mean, I'll watch it. I'm curious, but
Yeah, I'll watch
Yeah.
it.
It got a 5.3.
Yeah, but
So-
honestly, you look at the reviews, and I think that you're either a person who like came in and were like, I'm gonna be upset if this isn't the next Shawshank Redemption, and then other people who are like, I want to see people with big weapons slay monsters. And
Yeah, I
those
mean, if
people
that's all
were
you want.
happy.
Well,
That's
I mean, yeah,
what
like,
it-
you gotta
it's
set
like-
your expectations accordingly. This is the guy that made the Resident Evil franchise and the Mortal Kombat movie. Like, you can't expect high art from this movie.
More importantly, what's the game Monster Hunter about? What's
It's
the
about
only
big
thing you
weapons and
do?
smacking dinosaurs.
You hunt monsters and you kill them, right?
and the
like, when
plot
people-
is irrelevant.
Right, exactly. When people play that game and they're like upset 'cause they're like, "Oh, I thought there was gonna be like more." I'm like, "Well, what? Why? You didn't read the title? I mean, it's all there. It doesn't hide anything."
I've played like 500 hours of Monster Hunter World, not kidding, and I could sum up that plot in like a small paragraph. Does not matter. Who cares? Just
Exactly. I have simple things.
it could just be a slideshow of fight scenes, and it would
They're
be
simple
a good
things
movie.
I want, and I heard that it delivered them. So that one I can't wait. I'm looking forward to seeing when I don't have to see it in person.
I feel like while we're on the topic of just video game movies and series in general, I feel like that's probably a good segue for the Last of Us HBO casting that just got announced too.
Oh, that did just come out.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal is Joel. I think they did a really good job with that. I think he can do a really good job.
It's a good get. He's hot right now.
Yeah, he plays a good non-related father figure to people. I mean, none of you guys saw Wonder Woman 1984, but he was pretty good in that. One of the few good parts of that movie. And in that, he also has a kid, but he plays like a bad dad. He's he kind of sucks.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, at least he's got wide range. That's good.
Yes, he can play suck
He can play
dads
all
and
kinds
good
of dads.
all the dads.
Sucky dad,
sorts
major
of
not your
dads.
dad. Oh man. And then also, yeah, Ellie got casted as Bella Ramsey, the little girl from Game
She
of
was really
Thrones.
good.
Not that little.
She was. I mean, she was
She was
pretty
little then.
Yeah, but not anymore. Of course
yeah.
not. Of course not. But
Also, for any of those who are watching, also on His Dark Materials season 2,
Haven't got around to it yet. I've heard it's good.
pretty good.
I thought about
She's
reading the
in it.
books first. I might get to
Yeah,
it.
good luck. Those books don't really make that much sense.
Cool.
yeah. Well, with that aside, let's talk about WandaVision. Okay, we're not going to talk about spoilers right now, but we'll give a first impression. What did you guys think of the latest episode that just recently came out?
It was okay. We're talking about episode 6, by the way. This is being recorded on February 12th, just so everybody knows what the hell we're talking about.
I think in general, I mean, I'll just talk about the entire first season so far leading up to this episode. I think it's been very good. Definitely was a slow start at the beginning, but I don't have any problems with that. I know some people did, but I think it's paying off, and I think it's gonna go.
I think it's rather captivating, actually. I've been enjoying the watch.
As I think I stated earlier in one of our group chats, like just the endings are so frustrating because they want you just leave it wanting more, which is definitely a really good way to handle a show, especially when it's coming out a week-to-week basis.
Right, and that was one of the things that I was gonna say is that like at the end I was like, wait, that's it, man.
Yeah, that ending really snuck up on me this week.
Yeah, it really did. Like I was like, oh, it's been 30 minutes. Okay, cool. And that's one of the good things about WandaVision in general is that it's like each episode is pretty contained in like 30 minutes and it's like a quick watch. Like I watched all of them and like I binge watched it because I had a day off and I was just watched all of them in one day and I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, but even for how short they are, you get a satisfying like episode. It's like stuff actually moves along. They're not, treading water or anything.
I think that's a very important thing about the show too, is that it doesn't have that filler. Everything is very purposeful. At least it feels that way. Obviously, we'll see how it turns out with the ending of it. But I'm, knowing Marvel's track record, they're pretty solid with their stuff. So
I think that, and I can't go too deep because, of course, we've already said we don't want to do spoilers, but I really like how it feels like the people who are writing this show know what we're thinking, and I like how they've laid out these breadcrumbs. There's a mystery. We're all trying to figure it out, at the same speed as the characters in the show are, and they're very they're clever to close up. Oh, that was a ruse, but now here's something else for you to think about. Maybe they're not. It's not like they keep entertaining us with other opportunities to fill in the blanks and let your imagination go. Even with 3 episodes left, what I thought 3 episodes is completely different to what I think is going to happen now, and I assume I'm probably still wrong.
Yeah, they make really good twists and turns and keep you guessing.
That I just really like.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about you were saying there's a slow burn in the beginning, and I realized as people were talking about this and we were discussing it, I had a really weird reaction to the first couple episodes because I really loved those first episodes.
I did too.
And I was like, I will watch 100 episodes of just a black and white, old-timey comedy with these characters I know. This is so much fun. And there was a moment, this is really dumb, or minor spoilers for episode 2, where I was looking at the screen and I said out loud, I don't care about the spooky helicopter. Vision's got gum in his gears. How's he gonna perform the magic show? And I was like, get back to that. I was worried about this stupid B plot.
This also doesn't really go into spoilers so much either, because this was shown in the trailers, but clearly there was a Halloween episode, and that was the episode that just came out. This episode was hilarious with the way they were dealing with the sitcom tropes, because they had some of the characters talking to the camera exactly like a Disney Channel show, which honestly, it still is a Disney Channel show, so it's hilarious in that regard.
It felt like Malcolm in the Middle to me.
It did.
All the 90s crap.
And even the commercial that they had in the very middle of it.
I know.
That was hilarious. They just know what they're doing. They know
the shark. Oh, so good.
Yeah, they know their audience. They know their source material.
Yeah.
And I think
they do it well.
They do it really well.
Good. You could take out all of the MCU mystery and giant world-changing plot, and you have a pretty solid sitcom.
Yeah. That
I would watch, and I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Well, with our first impressions aside, if you are listening and you want to hear our full discussion with spoilers, go ahead and stay on until the end of this episode, and you can listen in on what we think about episode 6 and the season so far. So just go ahead and stay tuned.
So I just played a video game, and I gotta scream about it because this is gonna be a really hard sell, and I know that because this game's wild and it's way out there. But I gotta talk about 13 Sentinels: Aegis Rim. It's a game on PS4, PS5. Yeah, exactly. This game, it's made by Vanillaware. It's anime as shit. It's 75% or more visual novel, where you're mostly just watching cutscenes, and you get a little bit of adventure game. There's 25% mech combat, strategy combat. I see your face, Daniel. I know. It's a hard sell. This game's not for everybody. But what you get, if you can get past that, is one of the most ambitious, wild-ass sci-fi stories I've ever played or experienced. It's the tightest fucking crazy sci-fi story, and it's super worth all the effort. So if you have any interest in good sci-fi, go play 13 Sentinels. That's literally all I can say, because even talking about shit in the first 10 minutes is a spoiler. So it's not for everybody, but if you can get in there, it's amazing. Promise.
We'll have a link in the description if you guys want to check out a page that talks about it. So
I'll send you a trailer. It's fucking insane. I can't recommend enough.
And you called it 13 Sentinels?
13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. This is another sleeper hit, 10 out of 10 banger. Just trust me on this one.
Hell yeah.
Fucking incredible.
Right on. All right. Well, with that done, let's go ahead and move into our 1-minute one-shot segment, where one of us will be taking on the role of DM and creating a simple obstacle that we have to attempt to solve. So, for this month's segment, Zack will be DMing for us. Zack, take it away.
All right. So, you are an elf, and you are taking a break from adventuring, and you're going to take a nice relaxing vacation on the beaches of a nice, island resort and just lay in the sun, have a nice vacation. The problem is you let the rogue plan your vacation, and he booked you a room at a dwarven enclave. So you're hanging out in this dwarven enclave all by yourself at the bar, having a drink, when a dwarf behind you says, "Oi! The elf just stole my purse!"
And that's where we start off.
What do you do?
Oh, okay. So we're taking a vacation on a nice beach
No. You're
that is owned by a dwarven enclave.
So no, you were supposed to go to the beach. The rogue scheduled you
Got it.
the rogue fucked up. Get it? The rogue sent you to a dwarven enclave instead. So you're hanging out, and a dwarf has just accused you of stealing his money.
So, but like, did I know I was going there? Like, am I in a bathing suit right now?
It's up to you, really. It's just, that's where you ended up. It's not where you wanted to be, but it's where you ended up, and now you're accused of theft.
Let's see. So then, surrounding us, are there any, guards that have just gotten into attention from this guy yelling out?
It's a pretty crowded, dwarf bar. It's after, dwarf work, and they're all, he calls attention to the room.
Right.
May I go first?
Of course.
All right. Well, the good news is, I'm a paladin. All right. And I'm not just any paladin. I'm a paladin of the crown. And as a paladin of the crown, one of the spells that I have prepared at all times is Zone of Truth. So I will turn right around. I will point to this gentleman. I will cast Zone of Truth. And I will say, repeat that. What did you just say? And I'll clarify because I don't want him to literally just repeat what he said because that would be the honest answer. To say, is that true? Did I really steal your purse?
Okay.
Man.
I think that's a pretty solid one.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty solid. I'm an elf. I don't even want to be here anyways. I was really just getting this drink so that I can, try and forget.
You got to make the best of it, I guess, while you're here. Yeah.
And I'm just gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna look down to this guy and I'm gonna be like, "Hey man, it wasn't me, but let me buy you a drink. Come on up here."
Okay. Just try to talk him out. Okay.
I'm just gonna try and persuade him into, me not being and of course I'm a bard, so I have expertise in persuasion,
Of course. Sure. Right.
I will be a wizard, as always, it seems like, in these situations.
Trusty wizard.
I'll say, excuse me, similar to Johnny, it's like, I promise you it wasn't me. You must be mistaking me for another dwarf, which sounds really weird, but it definitely wasn't me. And if that doesn't work, I'm readying my spell to just teleport back home. So...
Another thing that I was gonna think was, oh my god, my thought just went away. Cool.
All right, great.
Well,
I don't remember what it was.
You remembered to think it, but then you forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Failed that intelligence check. Okay. So let me, before... Oh.
Okay, it's back. Okay, hold on.
You did it. Suggestion?
I would just look down and I'd suggest that you walk out and tell everybody that I wasn't the person that stole your coin bag.
In a bar full of dwarves, you're charming a dwarf, and you think nobody's gonna notice.
No, that was just another thing. I'm persuading. I'm just saying that's another thing that I could have done. I'm doing the persuasion.
You said you cast suggestion.
No, well, yeah, I was saying there's another thing that I thought of, and that's it. I'm using my first one where I'm persuading.
Okay,
that's all.
Okay.
All right. So let me ask you that. Let's start with Daniel. Let me ask you. I think I know the answer, but let me ask. Did you steal the money?
No, absolutely not. I'm a fucking paladin, bro.
Right. So let's
he's
assume...
just fucking dwarf racist, and he doesn't like that an elf is in here, banging all the women.
So Zone of Truth pops off. He goes, No, I just didn't like how you looked. I want to get you in trouble. And he sulks off to the corner.
Well, teacher. He has to make a charisma saving throw
He does.
first.
That is true.
Yeah,
There
I
is
know,
a
but I don't
save
really
he
want
has
to
to.
roll it. So.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I can't. Here, hang on. Let's see.
My wisdom saves
He fails.
15.
Yeah, no,
Sweet.
he fails, and he says, "Oh, never mind." There we go.
Sweet.
Okay, Johnny, did you steal the money? This is just you and me talk. Did you actually steal the money?
As a bard, I don't think I would have.
You don't think you
No,
would?
I set it up as I am just so fucking over this because that is the last time I used the rogue as my travel agent. I just wanted to get a drink and mind my own fucking business.
For sure. You want to give me a quick roll? Real fast?
Yes, absolutely. I got a 13,
You got a
but
13.
bard having expertise in persuasion,
Mm.
that'd probably hit me at around like, I don't know, +7, so 20.
So he says, you're all right, man. I only had a drink's worth of money in there anyway.
All right, and then I'll pay for a drink for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does the rest of the bar do in response also to mine? That's what I'm.
They just like perk up and they're waiting for some action. Maybe they get to, punch an elf. That's always fun.
I almost cast like duel or something. I'm glad I didn't do that.
Just fight him for it? Heck yeah, that's the best. I mean, I'm a bard. If I'm a good adventurer trying to take a vacation after a long, quest that we just finished, I'll just buy a round for everybody. I mean, it's probably not too much gold. Just put down like 5 gold and be able to pay for everybody in there.
Well, they're gonna rake up those prices because
Oh, yeah, maybe. Whatever.
Racism. Ryan,
So, yeah.
did you take the money?
Of course not. I'm a scholarly fellow.
You guys are such good boys. I was expecting at least one of you to take it. Damn. All right, go on.
So, so I was saying, I think you're mistaken. I think you got the wrong person. I rolled
Mm-hmm.
11. And being a wizard, I definitely am not proficient in charisma, so.
Okay. I mean, it'd be more fun to just arrest you, I guess. Like,
Cool. Well, I just teleport.
would you, if the guards tried to search you, would you let them?
No, I don't think I'd risk it. It's like, I just want to relax.
No, you're just out.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Okay.
Yeah, you leave, and the rogue who's next to you at the bar is like, "Oh man, not again."
No. Okay. So you're just like, all right, clearly this isn't working, and you just blink out of there. And from you, I mean, your vacation sucked, but you have a great rest of your day. What you don't know is that all those dwarves go on high alert, and they're scouring the place for this wizard that just came in, stole money.
Something else I would do right before I do it, I toss to cover my tab too, to make sure
just take care of your
Good
drinks
guy, wizard.
out. Everybody's like, search the grounds, find him, find the evil wizard. Yeah,
Right on.
good stuff.
Sweet. Well, with our 1 minute one shot done, let's go ahead and move into our D&D discussion topics. So I'll go ahead and start with a topic that we kind of had an issue with a little bit ago, but have since gotten over. But it's playing in character versus playing with your characters and friends. One thing that came up in our game was, and I will take responsibility because of another reason that I'll go into in a little bit, but we've had this sort of, the group cohesion wasn't really working. And the reason why was because Ryan's character had just died and he just made a new one. And so the party doesn't know this new person, and he was asking them to go on this quest to fight a underground thieves/assassin guild. And they were like, first off, I don't even know you. And second off, why would we want to kill them? Because we might even want to join them. And so as a DM, I was like, oh shit. Because I had only planned for the entire party to go and do this one thing. And so I improv the entire session. But on the other hand, Ryan was playing a character that had to, quote, prove himself to this party. And that created this divide in the group where one of the party members went with him, his character, to go scope this place out. They had this whole thing that we did in a separate session, and that was pretty fun. But at the same time, it still created this rift between the group that it was really hard to in-game fix, so we had to pull ourselves out, fix it outside of the game, then repair it in the game after knowing this. And one of the things that I did that I think really influenced this decision for the party to not trust anybody that comes to them is I, as a DM, created a character for one of my players.
Are we about to talk about Bay?
That turned against the party.
Oh man, that's totally the reason all this went to shit.
And I believe that that's the reason that the party has always had this, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to trust you right off the bat. You need to prove yourself. And so a little bit of background, Bay, which is my friend Zack, other Zack.
Hi, Zach.
Boy, we need other friends with different names than
I know,
us.
right?
Yeah.
We have Daniel, and then we have Zack and Zack.
There's only so many names.
But my other friend Zack created a character that I was like, not new to DMing, but I was like relatively fresh.
You were trying some shit
and
out.
I was running Lost Mines of Phandelver. And with Lost Mines of Phandelver, you have spoilers, so don't listen any further if you don't want to hear anything. But you have Nesnar the Black Spider, or Blackstaff, or whatever, I can't remember. Anyways, he is a wizard that I created homebrew, was coming out of the Underdark to cover the sun in order for Drow to come out and live in this specific area. And he had 2 doppelgangers, but I switched them to Drow because I didn't want to deal with doppelgangers. And I was like, it would be really cool if one of those Drow was your character talking to other Zack. And he was like, this is sweet, I'm down. And so they did a bunch of stuff together. Bay was on the side sending, messages to Black Spider Staff, whatever guy.
I think it was Glassstaff.
No, Glassstaff was the other guy. But anyways, he was sending messages.
Was it different? See how many fucking evil wizards we have to fight?
He was sending messages with updates on what they've been doing, and they had no idea until they got into the mine and the very last confrontation with the wizard happened. And that's when Bay switched. And they were like, what the fuck? We were working with you the whole time and then you just switch on us? So that was the main thing that I think. I was like, yeah, you can't trust anybody that just walks into your party. And that is my biggest mistake. Not biggest, but it's one of my big mistakes that I've done as a DM, as a content, homebrew-ish creator. Don't recommend.
So yeah, I was playing in this. I don't know if either of you guys, Daniel or Ryan, were playing in this group by then, but
I wasn't.
I remember this, and we started the campaign like normal. All the party members start out, meet in the bar, whatever the situation was, and he just introduced
Death House.
Was Bay in Death House? Was he?
It was
really?
Death House because I wanted to run it, and you guys wanted to play
His
in
character died in Death House, and he
Right.
made a new one.
So
that's when he made Bay.
We started in Death House to just get it running, and we were like, oh, this is cool, yeah, cool, because they had already started Lost Mines, and I was like, I don't want to start you in Lost Mines again. This is a pretty cool one-shotty type of, little thing that we can do, and then you guys are just spit out of Tresendar Manor. And that's when, you see Phandelver in front of you and blah, 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 blah. There's this bunch of shit going on. You can start off from the other campaign that we didn't finish.
That was actually when I first met you guys, too. I had came in at the very end of Death House.
You're right.
Right after... I showed up right after he was killed by the shadows.
That's true.
The other Zack was killed. And then I watched that entire ending of Death House. I wasn't there for that next session or the next 2. And then I started not long after Bay was killed again.
Right. And then they met Bay, the Dark Elf, in the bar. She was just in the back watching everybody do their thing and then kind of approached and was like, hey, I hear you guys are trying to go to Cragmaw Castle. Let me follow you. And so that's when they were like, dope. And
so from our perspective, his character just died. He just made a new one. Fine. He still wants to play,
Exactly.
That's what it is. And so we're like, whatever, it's just, he's another player. And then that character would go off and do some weird shit. And we'd be like, that's a little dangerous, but I'm sure it's fine. Nobody, he's got his secret backstory or whatever. And like, I didn't put it together until you said that. But yeah, that had some cataclysmic effects on our trust.
That's totally what it is.
Totally, because
In comes Ezra, Ryan's new character, that this whole new situation we're talking about, and he's got all this weird, like, broody backstory and all this, and he's trying to get us to do this shit, and we're all like, that sounds like a bad idea. And like, that was definitely the problem, and I did not put that together subconsciously.
I mean, also flashback too to right after you guys must have finished the Black Spider fight in the mine. You guys had then met my very first character, Gilroy, in a tavern also, and then of course that was short lived.
And that's where that domino effect started. Is you have to prove yourself because you're a cop. You're a
No, Gilroy wasn't the cop. Cap was the cop.
Right, but that was right after Gilroy.
Little nugget for the listeners. We've had to do this with Ryan like 8 times. Ryan is so good at getting his character killed and making a new one, and we have gone through this like indoctrination process like 15 times.
Just say we got Gilroy right away. You guys met him in a bar.
Died because of he pulled dungeon card from the deck of everything, or deck of many things. There we go. Jeez.
And then right after that was introduced to Cap, who was a leader of the knights of the town that they were in. And
he actually made it pretty far.
He made it pretty far.
And then got eaten alive by a black dragon.
Yep.
And then I also tried to play a little cat character that lasted a session and a half, I think.
Who got cut in half by a half dragon, half black dragon.
Yeah, and so that
black,
was
half dragon.
That happened. Actually, is by the same dragon actually. So, and then after that, I made Bendis.
Bend it like Bendis.
Bendis didn't die.
Bendis has not died, and he
so
survived to the end.
He played the long range game.
We ended the campaign with Bendis.
And then
so he's still alive.
And then we started a new campaign with Sebastian the Paladin, and then he ended up being cut down because he was surrounded on all sides
by orcs. They just cut him down.
It was a very messy situation, and nobody could physically get into the area to heal me just because it was just not a very good location.
It was a mix of, bad luck and trying to do your job.
And then I made Ezra, who has been my character since.
Yet to
so
die.
Far so good.
He's yet to die.
We'll update you later.
He's really hard to hit. So we'll see.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, he doesn't die.
Now I did want to say, Johnny, that I don't think the blame entirely rests on you, because I don't think that you're really taking into account how much of a dick I can be sometimes.
At least he admits it.
Because, I create these characters, and when I create my characters, I mean, I know what decisions they're gonna make, right? Like, I know what kind of people they are, and I'm pretty uncompromising. I'm not really willing to bend, especially if I'm not playing a character who wouldn't do that. So right now I have Frangipani, who was a little tiny Verdun. Now he's like medium Verdun, and he's kind of like he marches to the beat of his own drum, I think is the best way to put it.
He's chaotic neutral.
He's yeah. I mean, I like to say, more like chaotic lawful.
It's a diplomatic way of putting it.
Oh, definitely not lawful. No way.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right. Maybe not all the time.
Lawful in his chaoticism.
Or no, wait, what's the other one? Or was it
chaotic neutral is a very good alignment.
Chaotic good. It's anyway. I want him to be kind of like a Robin Hood-y type guy.
Really, I did not get that.
But he's also like, he's not gonna just, he doesn't play with the cops, right? He does his own thing. He looks out for people, but he looks out for people he thinks deserves it.
Does he?
Anyway, he's very much put off by Ezra, because Ezra comes in and he's all righteous, and Frangipani's like, I don't fucking get it. What's the point of being righteous? I'd rather have some money in my pocket and achieve my own goals.
Definitely chaotic
and so
neutral.
We immediately started butting heads. Our characters, they did not get along, and they didn't get along for the longest time, and I honestly wasn't sure if they were ever going to get on the same page, especially with the strife that's been happening over the last couple sessions, because we wanted to go in diametrically opposite directions, and we both kind of walked away feeling like the other was like just a bad person. Like Frangipani, he was like, there's nothing redeeming about Ezra. I don't like him, and I'm sure Ezra felt the same way about Frangipani.
The funniest thing too is I think Ezra is chaotic neutral as well. So
we're two alike. Well, and that's what's so great about where we just got, because there was a fantastic moment in the last session we had where suddenly Frangipani and Ezra, we were on the same page. We were synced up. We were united. We realized that at the end of the day, we both kind of had the same things that we were after. And I don't know if Ryan, if you felt it or not, but I felt a shift in the dynamic between our characters, and I think that it's gonna be something to build off of in the future.
The start of a beautiful friendship.
Exactly. I think that it's helped with the cohesion.
well, good. I hope so for the campaign's sake.
I think it's going to help significantly with cohesion of everything that's kind of going on right now, especially because me, out of character and in character, I like to be proven right, and the people that we just met, I knew were bad guys from minute one, and everybody else was like, no, give them a shot. And I was like, I don't know, they seem like pretty bad guys, and then it turns out they're like the worst guys.
Not the worst, but they're definitely not great.
I mean, look,
Githyanki versus Illithids.
we're going to argue about this. I still maintain that the Illithids taking over in a fucking 1,000 years is not a problem when you have people that are going to take over the world like tomorrow. But we can go back and forth about the philosophical, leanings of that argument. Again, that's in character. I don't obviously think either is good, but
Do we want to just quickly recap for just our listeners in general? Because we talked about it last episode of where we left off last time.
Yeah.
right.
So last time we left off from our podcast, I remember that I described that they had just fought and lost against an Illithid, and he basically was like, hey, you guys, instead of me killing you, you can do something for me. And they were like, yeah, let's do that.
It's favorable.
So the whole thing with that was that his colony had been completely wiped out. Not completely, but most of it was wiped out by a Githyanki group that I had homebrewed from the Shadowfell. They were exiled from their homeland, and they were there until they could prove themselves. And we have a few things behind the screen, which I'm not going to reveal right now, but
Ah, come on, just a little.
they have this one mission that they need to do, kind of like a Zuko kind of thing. You need to do this in order to come back. And so they're in search of some information that they had taken control of the Elder Brain of this colony by pinpointing exactly where it was and then infiltrating it and then just completely taking over it with this homebrew type of ritual thing that I had come up with. But they ended up making their way through the entire Gith colony, all the way to the Elder Brain invisible, where no Gith could see them. They did very good stealth rolls, and they used spider climb individually without having to break concentration down this chasm where the entrance to the Elder Brain was. And so they made their way inside. They saw a group of Gith. They fought. They were able to kill the Illithid, and the Gith were like, thanks, pal. You can stay the night here.
And for context, Frangipani, definitely the leader of the pro-Illithid, like, yeah, this guy, he'll help us out, we'll help him out, that's great. And Ezra being, from never, not even a little bit, was gonna betray the Illithid constantly, and Frangipani was constantly being like, don't do that, just have some chill, bro.
Just a little behind the screen information. The Illithids would have fucking killed you.
Great.
You would have been dead.
Okay.
So,
Well, good to know.
Illithids do not give a shit about you until you're...
We could have changed his mind, you don't know.
He only gave a shit about you because you were a means to an end. Once the Elder Brain was reinstated, you guys would have been gone. The Elder Brain would have come back online, and they would have just killed you.
Well, Frangipani will never know that.
Right. Of course not. So, that being said, they didn't know what Githyanki was in game. I don't know if anybody out of game knew what Githyanki were. Ryan, you probably would have known at least a little bit.
I had a vague idea. I had heard of them.
I mean, yeah, I've played Baldur's Gate 3.
Right, they have them in there, right? But they were like, cool. The group that was in there couldn't really do anything about it at that point. They were too injured, and they knew that the fight would have been too much of a stalemate to risk giving up the entire Elder Brain. So they said, hey, we have this place that you can stay in. You guys would be great. It'll be totally fine. Just go ahead and stay here for the night, and then we'll tell you about everything that we need to tell you for the rest of this, our plan. And so they were like, oh yeah, sounds good. And so they went into a slave camp that the Githyanki had prepared for Drow that was in a city nearby. And they entered and they were like, oh, there's a bunch of slaves. That's pretty neat. And then went to sleep. That's when the Githyanki came in the middle of the night and then just tried to shackle them down. And then a whole thing happened.
Yeah, we didn't trust them any further than the Illithid, so...
Real quick, I just want to say, man, this has happened like 3 weeks ago in real lifetime, and I'm still pissed off about it.
Yeah.
I still get angry. Like, those motherfuckers, we saved their lives and they try to come in and shackle us.
I never ever trusted. I said we should not go with them.
Learn my lesson. Hate them.
Here's the thing, though. So in the situation where we're in the room with the Elder Brain, we merged into this, seeing that they're trying to do some kind of ritual. The Mind Flayer revealed himself from invisibility. We all revealed ourselves. And he says, you guys shall pay for your misdeeds, basically. And the Gith then started fighting the Mind Flayer and us. But what I did is I ran over to the guy who looked like he was in charge and said, hey, can you help us? And I was trying to help them kill the Mind Flayer so we wouldn't be mind controlled anymore. I mean, we weren't being fully mind controlled, but it was only like one step away from that. I knew I didn't probably trust him because, but in that moment, like, an enemy of your enemy is your friend. So like I was using them in a way kind of similar to the Mind Flayer was using us as a means to an end. And if we needed to deal with them, we could deal with them after. So that
there were several ways that you could have taken that combat. You could have taken the side of the Illithid. You could have taken the side of the Gith. You could have also just killed the Illithid, then the Gith, and then you would have been on your own with the Elder Brain offline, and you would have been like, okay, what are we gonna do now?
That's what I wanted to do.
And that's fine. All of that set aside, you guys did great, but it did create a bit of a split between the party, which kind of didn't really mesh well as everything was happening, which did put you in that situation where you guys were like, well, shit, now we're about to get captured by... And that aside, with all of our stuff aside, back to what I was saying. So playing in character versus playing a game with friends, I think that it's really important to also, if you don't have a reason to do something, to try and make one, because like you can always say my character wouldn't do that. And I get that to a certain extent, but when it comes down to like, if group cohesion is the only way that you guys are going to be able to get out of a situation versus what your character would do, I would always argue that doing the group cohesion way is the best way, because then you can say, hey, I really didn't like that, and then it could come up later in an RP session. I think that's one thing that I've learned as a DM watching over you guys play is like, of course, I know everything behind the screen and I know all the answers, and you guys don't, so you have to speculate certain things, and sometimes those things don't agree. But then I'm always like, okay, so if they were to just pick one, they could try and find common ground. Okay, hey guys, we're gonna kill the Illithid right now, and then we'll deal with the Gith after. And then once that is like all squared away, or if it's like we're gonna kill the Gith now, then the Mind Flayer after, something like that. But anyways.
Well, and honestly, that's why I think that what you've done with the story is so compelling, because instead of having to manufacture getting us all on the same side, naturally through the course of the story, now that we know who the bad guy is, now that we have a common enemy, our characters can find common ground to grow together. It's a shared experience. So I just think from a storytelling perspective, it's so rich the way that we've done it. And yeah, it took us a little bit to get here, and we took a very weird path, but so did our story.
Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't expect you guys to lose against the Illithid, and the fact that you did created a completely different branch of this campaign that I think is even better than what I had planned before. So that's always good. But, and then another thing, kind of off topic, but one of the other things that I absolutely hate when people say, I'm just playing as my character, is when they steal. Like, if you go into like a a dungeon, you find a chest on your own as the rogue or whatever, and then you take half the gold for yourself and say, oh, I only saw about half of this. Okay, here you go. We can split that. It's like, dude, just share the gold. I hate it when people do that kind of thing and they say, well, that's what my character would do. It's like, yes, but bottom line, this is a game and you are playing with your friends to have fun. It is not fun.
We used to do that kind of shit.
Yeah, only steal from NPCs.
Huh?
Only steal from NPCs.
Yes. I mean, unless the NPC is like a really good ally and stealing from them would really fuck up the entire story, then don't be a douchebag and do that. But
Right, don't do it unless you want to fuck up the story. Exactly.
Right. We used to pull shit like that all the time. We'd like split up gold and be like, oh, I only saw this much, or this is my hoard, or whatever. And then we hit a point where like, we were all like, we fucking hate going through gold. So we just kind of pooled it all onto one character and everybody had access to it.
yeah, I think that's another thing is that it is one of those very new role-playing things that people do, is that they're not comfortable role-playing, so then they'll just stick to their gun of this is what my character would do and not go away from it. But I think that having flexibility is always a good trait for any character to have.
But I think
Minus paladins, because paladins are paladins. But even then you can have some flexibility. Ryan, what were you saying?
Also, I was just going to say that at that point in the game, too, I think we had so much money we didn't know what to do with at that point. I mean, well, you guys did. Bendis never, or any of my characters have never had very gold because they never survived long enough.
Oh, yeah, in that game, yeah.
Well, and nor would we share it with Bendis. Why would we share it with this random dude? You know?
And there we go back to party cohesion.
There's the full circle, yeah.
Well, so, like, I think there's a lot of ways... What am I trying to say? I think there are good reasons of, like, where you need to stick to your character if you have good justification, and it's, like, a nuanced, take on it. It's, like, not necessarily, I'm gonna steal from everybody because that's my character, but, like, my character doesn't feel comfortable attacking this like group of thieves because that would make an enemy that we don't want to make. And so like if you come at it from that angle, and I also think that
well, so that was more than one of us had that same feeling too. It's not like it was
exactly, but so like we had a justified reason for why our characters would act like that.
Yes.
And I feel like having, there is a point where you got to sit down and like look, like you need group cohesion to get out of a situation, but it's much more difficult to find that group cohesion going into a situation. If we're sitting there safe, we got to have a good justification to go into danger. And I think that was our biggest hang up.
And I think that comes down to the point where you are playing a game with friends. Let's talk about why we don't want to be in this situation or why we do want to be in this situation so that we can all come to an understanding and then play as our characters. Like, hey, this is...
I think that's totally fine.
And the story helps with that, too.
The story...
Yeah.
No, it completely helps the story to talk out of character at a certain point where it's like, okay, obviously our characters we're at an impasse. We need to kind of just talk this out. And I think that comes from the DM's point, too, to be like, all right, guys... Like, you guys are so involved with your characters that sometimes it is hard for yourselves to rip yourself out of character to notice something happening. And it's very easy for the DM to see, oh, this isn't working. Okay. So I think that's a point where the DM can kind of come in and be like, hey, guys, there's no group cohesion going on right now. Let's talk about what's going on. Okay, you want this. I see that. Me as a DM, I think that if you guys wouldn't mind going this way, I promise that and a lot of it comes into trust of the DM too, is that like, you have to trust that the DM does have an arc and that there is a way to do certain things. And I would say that giving your points up out of character helps the DM to understand where you are and can twist the story to that. So
let's talk about what I wanted to bring up today, which is pretty much ties right into this. I wanted to talk about railroading and like, the DM bringing you along on the story they've created. And that's essentially what you're talking about is like the DM's got this stuff planned out and how well can you keep the players on the tracks, so to speak. And like, I hear a lot of, people complain like, oh, you're railroading us and, oh, just let us, play the game. But I actually think it's kind of
I think there are points where it's necessary. I'm like, I don't really mind being railroaded. If you said like, hey, this is what I got going on, you know, come with me, come let me tell this story, that'd be fine. I also think there are more subtle ways to do it where you can set up the story to give us the motivation to want to go attack these people or whatever. There was a moment I think of where they like these thieves that we didn't want to attack like confronted us, and they were like, what's your deal, what's going on here? But none of them swung. Nobody attacked us. We all just kind of left without any blood being shed.
It was a bit of a fear play, and that character that they confronted had rolled such a high persuasion that they were like, all right, fine, don't fuck with us. And then he was like, yep, got it, clear.
And then they left.
And I thought that right there, I thought was enough to be you guys being like, oh shit, these guys are bad. Okay.
What it really came out to was like, oh, that was weird. Glad nothing happened. And like, oh, we probably shouldn't fuck with those guys. So it all ended good. And that's how, you know.
Yes, there are subtle ways to do it, but not all of them catch on.
Exactly. And when they don't catch on, I think it's okay to be a little more stubborn about it and say like, hey, man. Hey, party.
I don't have anything else planned except for this manor. Do you guys want to just go scope it out so you could see and maybe, you know, RP and get some information out of yada, yada, yada.
Right. That's when we need to, like, exit character and be like, even if we got to retcon, like, something or, you know, ignore some justifications.
I hate retconning, though. God, I hate it.
Well, and I think that there's a lot of different ways you can incentivize characters in game too.
Yeah.
You just have to dangle the right kind of a carrot.
Exactly. And I, as the DM, thought at that point that was the right way to do it, as well as the fact that I was leading to Ezra asking you guys to go and help out.
Right. Sometimes they don't stick.
And I thought that I had done enough in that situation, but obviously it wasn't. And you guys had your own motivations as to not do that. And I didn't know that. I wasn't aware that Frangipani was interested in even joining them in the first place. I didn't know that. And if I had known that,
pretty hard to figure out what's going on up there anyway.
I might have been like, hey, Ryan, just so you know, they're probably not going to want to do this, so let's try and think of something else to do.
I mean, hell,
in the meantime, or something like that.
Even something else that you could have done, knowing that we turned out to join them, I'm saying with air quotes, anyways. And so like that, had Johnny known that, he could have probably structured it in a way to where, hey, maybe if you go this way, or hinted to me saying, hey, we can try to join these guys, potentially. Like, there could have been something like that.
Yeah. Or even just having them in some way, I don't know, it's
capture an NPC that you guys know.
Exactly, or had stolen something of mine, then I would be, oh, fuck those guys. Let's go get them.
Throw a punch. They had thrown a punch.
I thought that I had already done something of that sort with the guys coming to, you know, aggressively say, don't fuck with us. And you guys were like, oh, they're evil.
We're just
maybe
too good,
that was
too
enough.
much persuasion.
So what you got to remember is your players are dumb, and you got to go that extra mile to just really drive it home.
You have to be explicit.
Yeah, you have to make it very clear if there's something you want me to do.
You cannot be subtle.
But no matter what, it was definitely a great way to kind of branch off, and it turned into a great campaign.
I'm extremely excited for where we go.
So I think player flexibility, as well as character flexibility, as well as DM flexibility. Just bottom line, be flexible with the story.
As occasionally, you know, exit the fiction and say, hey, what are we trying to do here? This is where I think we should go.
Right. Out of character. If you need to talk about it, go for it. So, with that being said, now we're going to be talking more in depth about the latest episode in WandaVision, episode 6. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, go ahead and stop listening right now. Just go ahead and press pause, turn it off.
But do come back. Go watch it and come back.
Disconnect, and then come back when you're done.
Also, we just want to thank you also, if this is where you're getting off, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you. We really do appreciate you. So, episode 6. First off, episode 5. Quicksilver coming in there.
Episode 5 was the raddest shit I've seen in a long time. That was so good.
That was so cool. You had the alternate universe X-Men's Quicksilver coming in, and then they were just like, oh, she recasted him. I was like, that's great. That's just like great. It's
dude,
so
that's
simple
the stuff I live
that it's
for.
just like, it was so great. I loved it.
I'll be honest, I did think it was cool, but now that in this episode, which I'm sure we're about to get into, it seems pretty clear that it's not actually him. That's a little disappointing to me.
It's not like
It could be. Okay, well, here's the thing. I mean, yes, it's not the same iteration of Evan Peters' version of Quicksilver, but it still is an Evan Peters Quicksilver from some other universe, you know?
See, I don't think so.
But he's got all Pietro's memories. And
But
his
I mean,
name's
well,
Pietro.
here's the thing. We don't really know much yet.
We don't. But there were some things. I'm not sure if you caught a couple of things. Johnny, you say your thing, and then I'll say my thing about it. I noticed.
One of the things that I have, a theory that I have for the rest of the season that kind of got debunked in this last episode was that both Vision and Quicksilver are going to survive. I don't know if it got debunked. It definitely took a right turn, like, ooh, maybe not, because Vision got out of the field.
I was wondering what was going to happen if he tries to leave.
And he was getting destroyed. So he cannot live outside of that field is what it looked like. With that being said though, it still is a possibility that they can figure out some way to get both Vision and Quicksilver out to the point that both of them are in fact real now. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Wanda to be able to do that. I mean, shit, she expanded the entire radius of this alternate reality, quite literally an alternate reality, to even bigger than a freaking city. Like,
Yeah, she can probably push it farther if she needs to.
exactly.
Who knows what she's capable of.
Well, and this is where we get into the things that... So, okay, I don't know how big... I know, Ryan, you read some comics. I don't know about the other two, Zack or Johnny. I don't know really if you read too many
not
comics.
really.
But so there's the House of M, right? Which I've never read, but I know kind of just like the gist of it, where Scarlet Witch goes kind of crazy. She thinks she has a couple of kids. She doesn't. That has to do with a lot of the conflict. But there's a middle bit, and I don't totally understand how he plays in, but there's this character Mephisto, okay? And Ryan, you're probably gonna have to jump in here to stop me from saying something wrong and stupid. But he's some kind of like entity who's like kind of like a demon-y, devil-y type character. And these children that she sort of has, they're in some way tied to him. And she kind of basically makes like a sort of deal with the devil where she gets to sort of live out her fantasy, whatever. And in return, what he kind of takes is these kids that she has are like his kids or something.
They're the shards of his soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something like that.
There's Horcruxes.
Now, so there were already theories that Mephisto came back as Evan Peters' Quicksilver, that somehow that's him. That's who that is. Which we can either confirm or deny, but there is one interesting tidbit that I caught in this last episode. Did you hear what he calls the kids when they're running around the town causing mischief?
Little demon child, yeah.
Demon spawn.
Ah.
All right, which, you know, that sounds kind of on the nose, and especially because he comes in and he makes jokes about being like trying to be their like father figure-y type thing, okay? So that's where I'm coming from
That's
on
a
this.
I did not catch that.
I would have to say, well, I mean, yeah, I haven't read House of M, but I would have to say that I wouldn't put it past Marvel Studios, the MCU, to put little things like that in for you comic readers to be like, oh, and then at the end just be like, pull the rug out from under your feet and be like, gotcha. You know, I wouldn't put it past them. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it could go many different ways. It could go that route, potentially. It could also go along the lines of maybe it is Evan Peters' X-Men, but like you know, gosh, why can't I think of her name right now? Monica Rambeau, when she came into the Hex, she lost her memory. She could have transferred him from a different reality, and he just has no memory. And he kind of knows, similar to how she did, that there's something off and there's something going on, and that's maybe it could still be the Evan Peters thing. I mean,
Why does he always talk about Sokovia then?
well, because that's part of.
I mean, same reason for everybody else.
Yeah.
Talking about their
Sure.
west side town.
But regardless, I don't think that I mean, it is possible. Like, also, we don't know anything yet. He could be Mephisto. Also, we know now that the Sword leader is definitely a rising antagonist for the show.
Shocker.
And then we also know that I think that Agnes, when she just stopped at the car, I think that was all a ruse. I still think that she is going to be playing into as an antagonist.
Oh, interesting.
Because she's the one that kind of triggered him. And if you noticed, everybody who's at the edge, obviously, when Wanda wasn't around them, they weren't moving at all, and they weren't responding to him at all. She responded to him before he even touched her. So there was that. And then after he touched her, she either, reacted or pretended to react, and then she started cackling like a crazy person. Who, in the comics, there is a character called Agatha Harkness, who is Wanda's like mentor. She's an old lady witch which also she was dressed as a witch in that scene.
Yeah.
And she's cackling like a witch. And then she immediately turned it around right at the end and she started driving away, which, like I said, everybody else that was on the very edge weren't moving. So they purposely let you know first that nobody else at the edge was moving or responding to him, and then they had her respond before anything.
Interesting points.
I thought that almost, and I could be totally wrong, but again, I thought that actually that scene was them sort of saying like, oh, that was a red herring. She's not who you think she is. She is just a member of the town. Totally could be wrong. But I actually took that moment genuinely and just accepted that there was like a little bit of a glitch in the Matrix in this moment.
I did too.
Especially for someone who has been so heavily like manipulated. But again, I could totally be wrong.
It could. We don't know.
We do not know.
But I mean, okay, so playing into this thing is that, I mean, he did the mind thing, right? I mean, I feel like Vision would have known if she was playing a part and not being under her control.
Not necessarily.
I mean, well, I don't know. I guess.
Well, doing that doesn't really give him any insight into what they're thinking.
Maybe
Like,
not.
He doesn't know what's going on at all, and he keeps asking them like, "What do you mean? What's going on?" If he could read her mind, he would have known that he's dead, which was weird.
My next point would have been, how would Agnes have known that's what he was doing? I mean, I guess you could have.
She didn't have to know. I mean, if she's the one controlling all of this, like, because that's another thing is when the guy at Vision's work in episode 5 freaked out, he said, make her stop. Her doesn't have to necessarily be Wanda. It could be totally Agnes or
Could be.
who knows. But here's another thing. Like, we're talking about how it doesn't look like Vision could survive. I mean, that could just be Wanda's pull on him. It might not be that he was breaking down because he was being shredded up by the thing rather than being just instantly dead, Like, I feel like if he walked out, he'd probably just drop rather than be shredded to pieces as he was trying to resist her will. Because it seemed like he was actively on the outside. He was alive on the outside. So I don't think he cannot survive. I think he was just pulling and fighting against it, and that's what was shredding him to pieces.
Well, there's a couple things that stuck out to me, a couple little lines. I appreciated the kick-ass nod. I thought that was funny.
I like that as well.
That was really good. And why didn't Vision know what an Avenger was? That was kind of strange.
He's had his mind wiped.
Yeah, he doesn't know any. I think after he was, if it is the same Vision, from Avengers, I think when he was being rebuilt by either Wanda, he just didn't have those memories.
Or Sword.
Yeah. When she made
We'll have to see.
Vision, she made him without any memory of before so that he would stay here
Well, so
longer.
that kind of lends it to Quicksilver as well. Like, she could manipulate people's
Because, yeah,
backstories
he
or whatever.
called that out, I think, in the last episode, too, where he says, why don't I remember anything before Westview? And then that's when they both flew up at each other and were getting
Right.
aggressive.
Well, that's why, no, it just seems like Quicksilver knows too much.
Well, so does the Nightly Watch guy. He was like, do you want us changing? And he's calling out stuff before Quicksilver does it. Like, there are people in there that are aware they're on a quote unquote TV set,
Well, I think that was another one of those sitcom moments. I think that another thing that might kind of aid my point is that what did Quicksilver achieve by pointing out all that stuff to her, by bringing up all of this stuff?
Just kind of ruffled her feathers.
Ruffled her feather, but more importantly, he got her to expand the hex ultimately. all of the things that were done.
No, that was
All of the actions that were taken in this very tightly controlled world were organized and led to a chain of events that caused Wanda, who seems to be the catalyst for this event, to expand her control. Which, depending on what you think is the big bad's objective here, that could be a key part to
I'm
the...
not sure that I would pin that on Quicksilver.
Well, but it's not Quicksilver. That's why I'm saying it's Mephisto. And he's manipulating...
Going on that theory, though, Quicksilver or Mephisto didn't really do any of that to encourage Vision to leave. It was Billy who
noticed it,
reached
yeah.
out with his yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah,
I'm
and
not
again,
saying that he
you
was-
know...
We'll have to see.
Well, but also, like, who did control Agnes, right? Like, maybe if she isn't in on it, and somehow somebody else with some kind of control here might be able to, you know, kind of make it so that Vision... Because we also know that guy on the outside, they seem to know something, because they knew Vision was coming there before he popped out, so there's something
here's the
going
thing.
on.
What if that guy is Mephisto?
Sure, I like that theory, too.
Could be.
Another thing that, going back to, was it Tommy? I don't know.
Yeah, Tommy and Billy, which is great. I loved, before we get onto that thing real quick, I love how in this episode they used all of their comic book costumes. So Billy had his Wiccan costume, because Billy and Tommy, they both represent their powers. Tommy has his super speed, and Billy has powers very similar to Wanda, but slightly different. He's a magic user as well. So it was very cool to see that their comic book costumes were being represented as well. And it was hilarious when Quicksilver had his Quicksilver hair from the comics. That was just perfect.
And then also the Vision saying he was a luchador. That was pretty funny. I was like, how are they going to explain that one? But when Billy uses the sensing to sense that Vision was out there, it could totally be Mephisto manipulating him.
It could be.
So that's another point to be made. But I don't know if Mephisto is in there. My guess, it's not Mephisto. I think that it is actually solely Wanda. That's my thing. I don't know if they're gonna go another tier up. I don't think they are.
All right, are we taking bets?
I think that yes, that it is Wanda definitely being responsible for this. I think Mephisto for sure is involved to some extent, but I don't think it's gonna be Quicksilver. I really hope not too, because obviously he's.
It's not. I don't think
again,
it's.
if it was really Quicksilver somehow from another universe that had gotten there, that's the dream. Like I want that to be the answer, because that opens up so many cool things. I just don't quite see it.
Exactly. I don't think that it's gonna be. I think it's just that they're using him as the placeholder.
Ultimately, I think I talked to Daniel about this too. Basically, the House M storyline, the whole big thing with that, and the reason why it's such a big story, is at the very end of House of M, she says, because after she's gone through all of her trauma, she's fed up with everything to do with mutants and her father as Magneto, which I guess now has been since retconned that he's not their children, whatever. Anyways, the very ending of that, she says the words "no more mutants," and every mutant, except for like 1 to 5% of them, they lose their powers, like they don't exist anymore. And that was Marvel's way of renewing and kind of redoing the X-Men series, because at that point there were so many mutants in X-Men like canon that they just didn't know what to do with, so that was them being able to get rid of that. However, as you know, with the MCU currently, we have no mutants officially. So this is, I think this is the kind of one of the going theories as well, is they're going to use the end of WandaVision to expand that hex worldwide, and instead do the reverse, where she says create mutants or something like that.
And I think she's going to go crazy and want to have a universe where she has children, and she's going to break down the barrier between universes, and that's why we're going to have cross-universe stuff.
That would be awesome.
But that's, I think, the ultimate end goal. But we'll see. We'll see in 3 weeks.
I agree that I think expanding the hex is the ultimate play here.
I think so.
That would be insane if the Marvel universe is going to, the MCU specifically, is going to introduce X-Men through a TV show.
That would be pretty wild.
That would be insane.
They're not. They won't.
It's not going to be completely like that. If anything, it might be through Doctor Strange, since they're doing the Multiverse of Madness. They might be in that. But I think this is like a step towards that, possibly, to at least explain. I mean, honestly, I think at this point, they're treating these shows like they're movies anyways. So even if they do it through the show, I think canon-wise, they're expecting
It's
people
still
to
going to have
watch it.
significance.
Yeah,
on the,
it's-
on the
Oh yeah,
whole
no,
story.
it'll
It's
it'll
definitely
have
not
huge,
gonna-
like, significance.
It's definitely not going to be like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where the S.H.I.E.L.D. would reference the movies, but the movies would never acknowledge that. It's not. It sounds like they're
Or the
fully
Netflix shows.
like intertwining these universes now, and that's definitely
Well, I
good.
mean,
Which is great.
because they have 2 Avengers in this one now. I mean, you know, like they have to actually pay attention to it in order to have, you know, continuity, because there are 2 Avengers in here, and you
soon to
can't just
be
blow them
potentially
off.
3, because Monica
What's an
Rambeau,
Avenger?
Monica Rambeau is about to become a powered human. I mean, they hinted at it in this last episode too.
Oh, that her cells and
her cells
stuff.
are recharging, because she
Right.
becomes, I think her name is Photon in the comics, and she is actually takes over as Captain Marvel for a little bit as well in the comics.
Oh, what was that? Yeah, what was that thing that he said with the connection with?
She was the little girl
Carol
in Captain
Danvers?
Marvel.
Oh, was that what it was? Okay, I thought so, but I just couldn't remember if that was actually it or not.
Oh, that's who she is.
You just got there?
I don't remember Captain Marvel that well.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'll be honest, I never saw it.
Son of a bitch.
They hinted at something being problematic between Captain Marvel and her in the last couple episodes too. Obviously, we don't know what that is yet,
I
but
remember that, but I couldn't figure out where the connection was, and I forgot, like, is this somebody I should know? Is this a reference? And okay, that makes sense. She's the little girl. Got it. Okay.
But yeah,
That makes
I
sense.
imagine they're gonna explore that connection either in this series more, or perhaps in Captain Marvel 2, or whatever they do there. But there's gonna definitely be more Monica Rambeau, I imagine, in the future.
Got it.
Yeah.
Unless she dies.
Unless she dies. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to our podcast. If you liked what you heard, we release new podcast episodes every 3rd Tuesday of each month. If you have any ideas for topics or any other comments or questions, you can always find us on our social media platforms. It's talking_XP. So yeah, thank you for listening, and make sure to level up, and we'll see you next time.